Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday morning, November 24th. Jeremy from My Motivate Me here. And it's been a while since I posted, but I felt a little inspiration and a little breathing room. I have been involved with some clients with I Motivate Me. We've been tracking our progress towards bettering ourselves from an exercise perspective, but just in general from a perspective of not only physical fitness, but mental and emotional fitness as well, because the obstacles that we come across when we want to make a behavioral change, like increasing our physical activity levels, our exercise, reducing our body fat, changing our body composition around so that we're metabolically healthy. These obstacles are mental and emotional. And why? Well, if we were to take a step back and look at exactly how we live, the things that we have access to, we have access to excess. I say these things all the time. And it's important to look back, take a step back, and to look at all the things that we identify with and that have become, kind of a part of our identity. And we don't want to let a lot of things go. We've developed these neurological pathways of behavior, and over time, it becomes very difficult to activate brain neurons that have been shut off because we have consistently, repetitively indulged in action. And these actions repetitively over time become a habit and behavior. And so we've developed these neurological pathways, and along doing so, all of these external things come with it. And because we can't remove those external things, we're so used to them. The way we live, if you make more money, for example, and you decide to buy a bigger house or rent a nicer place, you're going to pay more money. Your cost of living is going to increase. You might buy a better car. So now the cost of your insurance and the cost of everything else goes up. And it's hard to let those things go. So you've developed these habits now. You have a car, you can travel further down the road, you can do different things. You kind of indulge yourself in a lot of other things, and it becomes habit. All right. So they become harder to let go. And the more that we invite into our lives, the more it will be required to reflect and to pick those things out, to realize, okay, short term, maybe these things, I have fun, but eventually my dopamine is going to run out and I need to settle down for a bit. We can't be happy 100% of the time. It's physiologically impossible. So that's a huge obstacle, the mental aspect of what we do. And we have to reduce what we have come to know as our ultra consumer driven and debt driven lives. And we need to identify certain things that we could probably moderate. All right. So we talk about the Stoic virtues of moderation. All right. So if you're talking about the Stoics, we talk about the virtues of moderation, justice, courage, and wisdom. And again, I Motivate Me likes to practice patience like a crouching tiger, right? So we can identify a lot of these things around us, our marriages, our personal relationships, to evaluate our path forward in life and how those things are either facilitating our behavior or our behavior change, or are they holding you back? Are they creating excess, well, in layman's terms, baggage that keeps you behind your time continuum? And when I say time continuum from here on out, I basically mean purpose. You find this purpose in the universe where time kind of stands still and you move forward because time does not matter as much. You do have deadlines, you have time constraints, you have all these things. But at the same time, the more that you hold on to externally as your identity, the more difficult it becomes to move forward with your purpose, unless those things that you identify are a part of your purpose. And so what I'm finding in speaking with a lot of people is they have this urge, they have this intuitive, all right, this instinct, I guess that people like to call it. I simply call intuition a sixth sense, and there are other senses that we're being dulled from daily. For example, if you wake up in the morning and you've gotten 8 hours of sleep and you prayed the night before or meditated, you don't have to pray to anybody, any entity. Just self-reflection, free thinking, discovering the things externally that maybe, God, that really triggered me today. What can I do to alleviate that? Like, is it really that important? Like this conversation, or what I've heard, or what is it about what I've heard? You wake up, you feel good, you're clear-minded, you have an open mind, but the minute you hear something on TV, for example, if it's like corporate media or whatever the case, that is an arm that they use to control your emotions, because central banks have this the human emotion as a variable in their model, as do these companies. All right, they want you to buy things, they want you to be stimulated, and a lot of times, man, that can ruin your consciousness, like that your sleep kind of reset. All right, and you go on through the day and you may internalize these things, and then we don't self-reflect, we don't indulge in these things in moderation, we don't recognize the triggers and take a step back and say, man, I really, that's not even necessary. I can't hear that stuff. I'm not going to be on social media because all I'm seeing are a bunch of different things, and unfortunately we're perceiving certain things that we disagree with, or whatever the case. Even if it has merit, we don't choose to look or listen, and that's where we find ourselves carrying the corporate baggage, if you will, on a daily basis. I'm noticing this with the American lifestyle, and it's infiltrated into the home. It's infiltrated into our daily routine. It's infiltrated into the way that we behave. All right. Repetitive actions create behavior, whether it's good or bad. All right. And so I'm kind of noticing that, and people really are using their intuition to want to kind of change. Yet there are so many obstacles, and those obstacles beat you down, because those obstacles are meant to keep you in a sense of conformity, and it basically controls your neurological pathways, and we are what we think. And a lot of us, a lot of times, think about what other people might think of us or how they view us, and therefore we start to become that at times. And that includes anxiety. That comes with anxiety, that comes with depression, that comes with sleeplessness, that comes with substance abuse, because all of those things compound up if you think about it. So anyway, not to get into too much of a rant, right? But those things are really they're essential if we are to really identify what's going on in our lives. If we're trying to make behavioral change, I'm seeing other people start to make behavioral changes. And with I Motivate Me, or wanting to anyway, and I Motivate Me is like a fitness and health investment initiative. I'm taking funds from my military compensation from 9 years of service, multiple combat tours to Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm seeing my brothers and sisters really suffering for many reasons. With internal strife and things like that, you lose that sense of purpose when you leave the military, and other things. We see what's going on in the world, and a lot of us who choose to kind of separate ourselves from the identities and just try to be in a neutral position as much as possible to kind of be able to absorb information and determine what is conducive to kind of like a balance of the force within yourself, and then that your body kind of kind of releases that neutrality or that positivity. The neutrality, believe it or not, people sense it. It's a positive thing because it's so far removed from the conformity of corporate consciousness. All right, with how we think we see the world right now, based on corporate media, period. And that affects the family, and we're online all the time. We've got our phones all the time. We have these things. I'm starting to see people really start to try to reach out, but they don't know how, because it's very difficult to identify these things. And this is why I'm going to start talking the way that I do. And I'm going to try to do it on a more consistent basis, because I feel like paying attention the way I do to the stock market, paying attention to our financial and economic situation, domestically, globally, you name it. Things just are not internally right, and I think a lot of Americans know that. Regardless of who you voted for, regardless of what you believe, things are not right. Okay, things are not right. I certainly if you would like to inbox me and you are truly interested in understanding what's going on, for example, the price of gold and silver. All right, we need to learn how to invest. They are offering retail trading to poor people like you and me, just average people who want to live their lives. We pay our bills. A lot of people take out loans. I'm not one of them. I am officially debt free, and that's not the life I choose to live. And the reason I bring up debt is because we live in a debt-driven society, and it turns out that this is going to affect the inequity and within ourselves. It's going to affect the inequity and perpetual biases that we tend to have with ourselves. Number one, a friend of mine posted recently that this really inspired me to actually get on here and talk about it. Actually, he says there are two ways. He was promoting two ways in which you can spot fake people. And the problem that I have with that is that if you are not in touch with yourself and you don't know who you truly are, every time you look in the mirror, you're looking at a fake person. You're looking at a person who lives externally, possibly, with all of these things around you, whether it's sugar, alcohol, which is a drug, other substances. Well, let's be honest. You talk about the access to porn, to sex, to the media industry, the music industries, the media complex, if you will. And these things create these identities of who we might want or who we think we are. All right. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that, because you've got to self-reflect. And in doing so, you're able to pick out those things that keep you from your purpose. And if we're looking in the mirror and our goal is to be able to spot fake people and keep them out of our lives, then we are failing ourselves, because it starts with finding yourself. Once you do, you start to realize that humans in most cases are a lot alike. We share this universal consciousness, and it's the external stuff that removes us from that similar consciousness, all right? And so you have a lot of people living healthy, or fewer people living healthy than people who aren't, unfortunately. But you walk around and I see it. I see a lot of people that live externally. All right. And as difficult as it is to be on one side and I, to reach out and say, get over here and let me get my hands on you. Let's walk and talk. Let me put my arm around you. I don't care about COVID. I'm putting my arm around you, and I'm going to let you know that my electromagnetic signals are just they're beckoning you to coincide with my existence. Let's talk. We are one right now, and I am here for you and you solely. And if we are not able to see, identify these things that are external, we can't identify them within ourselves. And then you're going to end up looking externally at other people to try to find the same traits that you're running from unconsciously yourself, right? And these are detrimental to our behavior changes. When you start to identify the things that are the problem, or what you think is the problem, you see the problem and you might want to just cut it out of your life. But little do you know that you're not cutting it out of your life. You're actually going to suppress it, and it will come back out eventually if you don't deal with it. And this is why we as Americans, with access to access, the media, everything else, we are traumatized by food in excess, drugs in excess, media in excess. We're traumatized. And that leads to a lot of irrational behavior, and it makes it difficult to overcome those obstacles, because the obstacles you think are the obstacles are actually just the facade. They are the illusion. The fear of that obstacle that you have is the illusion, and that fear is always the way. So you have to see through that fear and actually take that fear and see it and identify it, and then put it behind you and allow it to push you forward. It's a drive, if you will. The obstacle, the problem is always the way. The resistance is always the way, and that obstacle is that resistance. People see it. They just don't know how to access their own primitive tools of consciousness, universal consciousness, the light of consciousness, which is God, or if you don't believe in God, there's a light that exists, all right? And it's eternal. It exists within you as long as you have atoms and cells and everything else. And so when we decide that we want to embark on it, I'm seeing a lot of people getting the signals, all right? And they want to make these changes. They know that things in their lives aren't the way that they can continue. We can't continue stimulating our brain neurons constantly all day, bombarded by information. Most of it, 95% of mainstream information, probably 98%, is false. It's fabricated, which means if we're consuming a bunch of fabricated stuff, fabricated ingredients in our grocery stores, fabricated relationships. I can go on about fabrication. Fabricated metal. Just kidding. My car's made of fabricated metal, I guess. Maybe. I don't even know. I don't know. In any case, not to digress, but people trying to identify these obstacles and they don't know how to get past them. And the I Motivate Me thing, it was the whole concept of it was to eliminate the obstacles. All right, alleviate those obstacles by investing what the government's giving me. I wanted to gain independence from that so I could use that as a way to help people overcome these obstacles and identify them. I don't want to be a personal trainer. That's not my job. It's not what I want. I was a grunt back in the day. I do personal training, sure. That's not what I want to do. It's not about that. I could put you in the gym and break you off all day. What's the retention rate of that? It's not my job to continue doing that for the rest of your life, for the next 2 or 3 years, because we have to change the way we exercise up. We have to change the way we behave. We have to change the way we eat, sleep, live, and treat each other. Words of Tupac Shakur. All right? So the purpose is to help people identify obstacles and give and provide options and opportunities to overcome those and to learn in the process of behavior change so as to improve your self-regulatory skills, all right? And this improves your long-term adherence to something you want to do. You don't lose interest in it. If you've overcome that obstacle, it no longer has to weigh you down. It might haunt you on occasion, but this is what self-reflection is about, to where you say, okay, I feel that this thing's creeping up on me again. Why do I keep thinking about that? Why am I doing this? And then this is what we do when we pray. We have a conversation, whether it's with God or whatever, or meditating. All right, it's the same thing. It really is. There are different techniques or whatever. And Alan Watts makes a great comment about enlightenment, people trying to see those obstacles and identify them and get rid of them, and enlightenment. And in doing so, they get into a competition with that community of those that are trying to remove those external factors so as to be closer to themselves. And one technique is better than the other. That's not the case. You can clasp your hands together, look to the sky, turn everything off, go into a dark room or stay in the light, whatever you choose. You can lay flat on your back and pray. You can sit Indian style and do one of these things and close your eyes and start humming. I don't care. So long as you are within yourself and you're identifying these things that you would like to change that have been swirling around in your mind. Stimulation, just constant like brain stimulation. And that's where I see us right now. Many people. And we're going to see more of that. You know, we look at the stock markets. We look at the cryptocurrency markets. We look at if you're familiar with the Cantillon effect, the commodification of humans when we're online. People making money off of all of these, all off of our time. They've commoditized time. They've commoditized our time and our data, right? Human beings, commodification of humans. There's something not right about that, because what is it doing? The commodification of humans is leading to highly sedentary behavior, highly unhealthy habits and behavior, highly, 100% highly. You know, I do a lot of work on my social media, and that requires me to be on social media. And as much as I'm conscious of all of these things I'm talking about, it is difficult to not see things that that may trigger you if you're in an improper state of mind and reality. The minute you get possessed, what the media is going to do, and I know I don't want to lose people, I may lose people, but they perform a kind of a witchcraft, the corporate media, right? They use a vector by pandering to your emotions, and that's their vector that they use to inject some kind of message that you're going to carry around with you for the rest of the day. They demonize you with things, and people don't look into it. They just take it because there's a trust of sorts, okay? It doesn't matter who it is, what it is. All of them, they're all bad, okay? And we have to start understanding that as we sit and we're on the computer, or we sit and we're on our phone, or we're looking down and we are on our phone and we're not connecting with the external environment, enjoying in the moment. In the moment becomes in the phone, and in the phone or out from the phone comes the information from 5G, and you're getting blasted with the five senses, or the five senses are getting blasted with a reality, and that becomes your reality instead of living in the moment. All right, and and those become obstacles. That injected reality becomes an obstacle, an illusionary obstacle. They are illusions. All right, and so I'm seeing people wake up, and I think we're going to have more. You're going to see in the very near future a lot of different things happening. I believe you're going to see a lot of things happen, basically. And it's important to be in touch with the self. Because when it comes down to it, your wealth is your health. So, that is my I Motivate Me talk of the day. When we decide to make behavioral changes, we want to develop new neurological pathways. And in order to do that, we need to vascularize our minds. We need to increase our physical activity. Obesity is a direct predictor of lack of physical activity. And lack of physical activity, or increasing your physical activity, is a cofactor. It doesn't directly and alone itself affect obesity. You can't go work out in the gym 5 days a week and still eat. Well, you could if you're a power lifter and you're really disciplined. You can certainly go and work out 5 days a week, eat 6,000 calories a day, and not be obese, have a very healthy body composition, all that stuff. Those people are few and far in between. And that's a fact, because 70 to 80% of Americans are overweight or obese. That's a fact. Leading to higher morbidity and mortality rates. That's a fact. 539 million people are predicted to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in the world by 2025, according to the American College of Sports Medicine. That is a fact. And all of these things I'm talking about lead to emotional instability, or come from that. And it perpetuates itself and compounds itself. And this is why they talk about when people drink alcohol and they're covering up their problems, it compounds because you're not dealing with them. People reach out and they want to deal with their obstacles. They want to know how. It's hard to see the way. It's hard to think clearly in order to see the way. And that's the state that we're in. And so for Thanksgiving, we need to make sure that we eat what we want to eat. These are times that we need to turn everything around us off. Keep your phone at home. Keep it off Rome when in Rome. I'm just making stuff up. I don't know. It's a time to turn everything off. It's a time to tune in to yourself and those that you are blood connected to, and those that you are connected to spiritually, and enjoy those times together. We're not worried about calorie intake. We shouldn't have to worry about calorie intake. We should be consistently checking ourselves daily, so that when we have these events and we're celebrating, we can celebrate in excess a little bit. And then we remember those times and we go right back to the way that we live in a healthy way. And we be consistent about it. We minimize the energy consumption. And the energy that we're consuming, we make sure that it's filled with nutrients. If we're constantly being bombarded, that means your brain has to release chemical hormones, chemical messengers or hormones, which costs not just energy, but nutrients. And if we're constantly bombarded, we're becoming nutrient deficient in our brains. Anybody wondering where maybe Alzheimer's might come from? All right. So in any case, and I'm not suggesting that is it, but that's certainly a theory that I'm sure will be investigated in the near future because the prevalence of Alzheimer's is high. I think it has a lot to do with sugar intake, our diets. I think it has a lot to do with the lack of sleep we get. I believe that sleep apnea is on the rise and has been for decades in our country. I know a lot of people who have suffered from it. And these are chronic illnesses that were not prevalent at a certain point, and now they are. And we need to identify these things. Okay? So keep that in mind. So for this Thanksgiving, I'll end this one. Eat your food. Have a great time. Eat what you want. Loosen your belt up. Do your thing. Be safe. Wash your darn hands. Wash your butts. All right? And love yourself. Find a little bit of love within yourself one morning. All right? This week, find some love within yourself early in the morning when you get up. Access a little bit of love. Access some respect for yourself. Do a couple things early in the morning that you wanted to do. Set yourself up for success the night before. Identify a few things that you're going to do for yourself that are going to improve your quality of life. And I don't mean drinking coffee. I'm a jokester. I don't mean drinking coffee. I mean doing something that's going to be purposeful in your life. Start living through your ideas, and it starts with identifying the obstacles. And in order to do that, I know it's a chain effect and it's a lot. In order to do that, you have to access some love and self-respect. If you don't have either, you can't give it to anybody. When you access it, you realize that there is a certain frequency, all right? We get everything that is happening right now. My voice is providing a frequency of waves, and your senses are taking them in. So we're receiving all of these vibrations. It's a fact. It just is a fact. In a very small amount. A lot of other vibrations just pass us because our five senses can't sense them. But our others can. The intuition, interoception, proprioception, those are able to access the other things around you that you can't sense with the five senses. And those have been dulled by this corporate madness, ultra consumption, hyperstimulation, hyperinflation, where our wealth is devalued by the central banking system and the Federal Reserve, which is going bye-bye. Nobody's realizing this. Nobody's seeing it, but it's happening. You're laughing, but it's happening. That's something I used to say in the Marine Corps, and some of the guys used to get a kick out of it. John Slavens would know what I'm talking about. In any case, we have these vibrations that we pick up, and if you find the vibration of love, and you're able to live in that frequency, you're able to find that frequency, people can sense it. People start to sense that, not through the five senses. They start to intuitively sense the love that you're providing your immediate surrounding. I kind of got crackly because it's to say these things really lightens me. It makes me light. I have light. And I love to pass that. I love to pass it through the microphone. When you find that frequency, people can pick it up through their other senses that they don't know they have. Because we've lost a lot of love for ourselves, and we've lost a lot of love from each other, and we cast demons towards one another with ridicule and indignation and insults in many cases. And when it turns out that we're insulting that which we don't like in ourselves. And that's a very hard one to grasp. So this Thanksgiving, Be very grateful. Find the frequency of love. Find the frequency of self-respect so that we can give both of those to others around us. And be grateful for that, because that is purposeful. If people around you are happy, you tend to be happy. And when people around you aren't, most likely you're not going to be either. And it's not about being happy necessarily. We need to be content with life and moderate ourselves. But we also have to find these obstacles, and we have to attack them by moving forward. And that comes with waking up in the morning with love and empathy and self-respect. And then we apply those daily to the ones that we love around us. And it starts with self-love. All right? God bless everybody. Have a great, fantastic Thanksgiving, and stay motivated.